Before Danica even opened the door, she already knew whoever was knocking wasn't from around her quiet Savannah street. The knock sounded too confident, too purposeful, almost like someone who believed good things always came to him. The morning sun had barely settled over the magnolia trees when Danica Holt wiped her hands on a dish towel and looked toward her front door. She'd been piecing together a quilt for a client, soft blues spread across her table like calm water, when the knock came again, steady, firm, and somehow hopeful. All right, she muttered, tying her robe a little tighter. At 52, she moved with a grace people often mistook for fragility, but it wasn't that. She'd simply learned to move quieter after her divorce, like life felt softer when she wasn't taking up too much space. She opened the door and froze. A man stood there, tall, broad-shouldered, sunlit hair combed back like he'd stepped out of some lifestyle magazine. His clothes weren't flashy, but the fabric alone told her this man wasn't shopping off regular shelves. His eyes, a cool storm gray, widened with surprise. "Oh, wow. I'm definitely at the wrong house," he said, running a hand across his jaw. His voice was the kind that could convince someone to open the door wider even if they shouldn't. Danica blinked. "That depends. Who are you looking for?" He lifted a folded piece of paper, glanced at it, then back at her. "Ms. Everett. She's supposed to own the place next door. Contractors meeting." He paused, noticing the quilt fabric behind her. "You do beautiful work." She stiffened automatically. Compliments always felt dangerous, like they could slip into places she'd long closed off. "Thank you," she said carefully. "But Ms. Everett moved 2 years ago. House is still empty." She nodded toward it. His brows tightened. "Then I owe you an apology. And your morning back." She started to close the door with a polite smile, but something tugged her attention back. Maybe curiosity, maybe the way he didn't move like most men who wandered into her neighborhood. "Wait," she said before she thought better. "You local?" He shook his head, smiling a little like he respected the direct question. "No, not even close. I'm visiting Savannah for a few months. Trying to restore one of those big estates by the river." That explained the boots. The faint dust on his jeans. The quiet confidence of someone used to owning entire properties. "And you are?" she asked. He hesitated, just long enough for her to realize most people probably already knew his name. "Elias Ward." The name clicked faintly, like something she'd overheard on a news show or from her daughter. A billion-dollar charity initiative? A tech empire turned philanthropy engine? She didn't let it show. "Well, Mr. Ward, this isn't the riverfront. You're a long walk off." She pointed down the street. He laughed, a sound deep enough to warm through her robe. "I really am. That explains the confused looks I kept getting." She found herself smiling, unexpected, gentle, something she hadn't done for a stranger in years. "You're welcome to use my driveway to turn around," she offered casually, not sure why she suddenly cared if he stayed another minute. "Thank you. And what's your name?" he asked. "Danica." He said it softly, like tasting it. "Pretty." Her chest tightened, not with fear, but with something she hadn't felt in a long, long time. Awareness. "Have a good morning, Mr. Ward," she said, stepping back. But he didn't leave immediately. Not until he looked at her one more time, like she was the unexpected part of his day. "Something tells me this won't be the last time we meet, Danica." She swallowed, heat rising to her cheeks. "And what makes you think that?" He gave a quiet, knowing smile. "Because I don't usually get lost. And yet, here I am." He turned and walked toward his car, leaving her standing in her doorway with her heart doing something it hadn't done in years. Flutter. Have you ever had someone unexpected walk into your life at the exact right moment? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Hi, my beautiful family. I have missed you all. Thank you so for sticking around with me. I truly appreciate your love and support. If you're already hooked in for today's story and ready to enjoy it, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Because, tomorrow, I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now let us begin. The hum of her sewing machine filled the kitchen as Danica guided warm gold fabric beneath the needle. She'd told herself the knock earlier that week meant nothing. Just a man at the wrong house. A handsome, ridiculously put-together stranger who smelled like cedar and good decisions. Nothing to think about. So why was she glancing at the window every 10 minutes? Her daughter, Imani, FaceTimed her that morning. "Ma, you look glowy," Imani teased, eyes narrowed in exaggerated suspicion. "Who's he?" Danica rolled her eyes. "Child, ain't no he. It's hot outside, that's all." Imani smirked. "Don't start lying at your big age now." Danica laughed until her chest ached a little. After they hung up, she kept stitching, humming, pretending her heart wasn't acting like it used to when she was 25. Then she heard it. The slow rumble of an engine. Pausing. Backing up. Then pausing again. She pressed her lips tight to keep the smile down as she looked out the window. It was him. Elias stepped out of his SUV, phone tucked into his back pocket. Looks more casual this morning. Fitted gray t-shirt, dark jeans, sleeves hugging arms that definitely didn't belong to a man who spent all day typing. He noticed her standing at the window. And instead of waving politely and moving on, he walked toward her gate. Lord, have mercy, she thought. She met him on the porch, crossing her arms in a way she hoped looked calm and not like she'd suddenly forgotten how to breathe. "Well," she said with a raised brow. "You lost again?" He smiled, slow and warm. "Nope. This time I'm exactly where I meant to be." That did something to her. "I wanted to thank you," he continued. "After I left here, I found a contractor who introduced me to the right team. The estate by the rivers, officially under restoration." "That's good," she said. "You must be excited." "I am. It's a big project." He paused. "You wanna see it?" Danica blinked. "See what?" "The estate. I figured since you helped me get on the right path, maybe showing you around could be my way of returning the kindness." She opened her mouth to decline, but he didn't look like a man offering a date. He looked like someone genuinely wanting to share something meaningful. And she wasn't a woman who hid from life. Not anymore. "I've got fabric to cut," she began, but her voice softened. "But maybe later today?" His face lit up, not too much, not overly eager. Just enough to let her know he was truly pleased. "I'd like that," he said. 4 o'clock. She nodded. 4 is fine. He hesitated for the first time since she'd met him, almost shy though not quite. "Good. I'll pick you up." He turned to leave, but not before gently running his thumb along the worn wood railing of her porch, looking at her house like he saw stories built into the walls. "Beautiful home," he said. She shrugged lightly. "It's old. But it's mine." He looked at her, really looked, and she felt her breath still. "That's what makes it beautiful." He walked back to his SUV, and when the door shut and the engine started, Danica exhaled slowly, reminding herself she was still a grown woman with sense. But sense had nothing on chemistry. Later that day, the estate. At 4 sharp he arrived, punctual like a man whose time cost money but who decided she was worth using it on. The drive took them beneath moss-draped trees, sunlight breaking through like spilled gold. When the estate appeared, Danica's breath caught. It wasn't just large. It was majestic, a 3-story riverfront mansion with columns, wraparound porches, and scaffolding framing the left wing. Elias glanced at her reaction with quiet satisfaction. "It's been neglected for decades. I'm restoring it to donate as a community arts center." She turned to him, surprised. "You're giving it away?" He shrugged like it was nothing. "Money's only useful if it makes something better for someone else." The way he said it, not boastful, not rehearsed, just truth. Inside was even more impressive, arched hallways, grand staircases, vintage molding. He walked beside her, explaining the structure with a passion that softened every sharp edge of him. But the moment that shifted something deep inside her? When he paused in a sunlit room and asked quietly, "Is this the part where I admit I came today hoping to see you again?" Her breath hitched. "Elias, I'm not rushing anything," he added gently. "Just being honest." Danica looked out the large window, hands pressed lightly on the sill. She hadn't felt wanted in years, not like this, not with such clarity. And when she turned back to him, she saw he wasn't asking for permission, just presence. And she could offer that. "We can start with a tour," she said softly. He smiled. "And that was enough for now. Do you believe some people are meant to cross your path twice? Drop your thoughts in the comments." The late afternoon sun slanted through the estate windows as Danica and Elias stepped into the old ballroom, a huge, echoing space with cracked plaster, boarded windows, and a chandelier hanging like an exhausted bird. Elias watched the room with a mix of ambition and tenderness. "This'll be the hardest part," he said. Danica walked ahead of him, fingertips grazing the old piano keys out of habit. "This place was meant for gatherings. I can feel it." "You see potential," he said from behind her. "I see what it used to be." She smiled softly. "There's a difference." He stopped like the sentence shook something in him. She turned toward him and, crack. The sound snapped through the room. He reacted before she could even gasp. "Danica, don't move." His voice dropped low, trained, calm. The kind of tone that makes a person freeze even when they don't know why. "What?" Then came the second crack, louder, sharper, like the building was clearing its throat. Elias lunged. One strong arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her against him just as the wooden panel beneath her heel splintered. The floor dipped an inch, not enough to be dangerous, but enough to send her heart leaping into her throat. He steadied her, his body warm against her back, his breath brushing the side of her neck. For 3 long seconds, neither of them moved. The world stopped. Her chest rose and fell, pushing gently against him. His fingers pressed at her waist, firm, protective, instinctive. Finally, she whispered, "You really just grabbed me." He let out a breathy laugh. "I wasn't about to let you fall through my future arts center." Her cheeks warmed. "So you risked your life for the flooring?" "For the woman standing on the flooring." He said it without hesitation. That did something sharp and deep inside her, something she hadn't felt since she was young enough to believe love came twice. He lifted her slowly until she stood on stable ground, but his hand remained at the small of her back an extra second longer than it needed to. "I'm good," she murmured, stepping away only when he finally released her. "I'm glad," he said, voice still low. "You scared me for a second." "You scared me," she answered, and they both laughed. He pointed to the splintered board. "I'll get the crew on that tomorrow. Thank you for not falling to your doom." She smirked. "You'd have jumped in after me." He tilted his head, thoughtful. "Yeah, I think I would." The air between them changed, dense, warm, buzzing with something unspoken. Danica cleared her throat. "Well, that was a dramatic way to break the ice." He grinned. "I like to make an impression." "You did." Her eyes softened. "You really did." The inciting incident. They walked the rest of the estate, and something between them shifted, subtly but undeniably. At one point, he brushed dust off her shoulder. She didn't step back. At another, he adjusted a loose window frame with bare hands, muscles tight beneath his shirt, and she caught herself staring before she looked away too slowly. Elias noticed, and smiled privately. But the moment everything changed came when they reached the upstairs balcony. River wind lifted her curls, sunlight catching the streaks of gray she'd earned with dignity. She leaned on the railing. "I haven't been up this high in a long time." He stood beside her, quiet for a moment, watching the water. "Danica, can I ask you something?" "Depends," she said lightly. He looked at her with an honesty that almost stole her breath. "Do you push people away on purpose?" Her hand slipped from the railing. She turned slowly. "Excuse me. You're warm," he said softly. "Funny. Kind. But then you step back, like you don't trust the room to hold you." Her heart thudded once, hard. She struggled to find her voice. "You don't know me." He nodded. "Not yet, Elias. But I want to." 3 words. Simple, quiet, and more disarming than any compliment. She inhaled deeply, eyes stinging with a truth she didn't want to admit. "I'm not used to someone noticing me," she whispered. He stepped an inch closer, not invading, just offering space. "I noticed you the moment you opened your door," he said. "Not because you were kind. Not because you helped me. I noticed because you have a presence I can't ignore." Her lips parted, a tiny, involuntary reaction. He saw it. Felt it. And then the moment became electric. "I should get back," she said, but her voice cracked on the last word. "Can I see you again tomorrow?" he asked. She met his gaze, conflicted, nervous, tempted. Finally, yes. His smile wasn't triumphant. It was grateful. "Good," he said softly. "Because I don't lose my way often, but I'd like to keep finding my way back to you." Have you ever met someone who saw straight through you, before you were ready? Share your thoughts in the comments. The next day moved slowly, each hour bending around a single thought. He wants to see me again. Danica tried to focus on her quilting orders, but her hands kept pausing mid-stitch. Her heart kept doing that flutter it hadn't done since she was young enough to believe love didn't hurt. By 5 o'clock, she had changed outfits 3 times before sighing and settling on a soft lavender blouse and dark jeans, simple, comfortable, and honest. She wasn't dressing for a man. She was dressing for herself. When she stepped onto her porch, Elias was standing there in a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up, holding a small bundle of wildflowers tied with twine. Not a bouquet. Not store-bought. Wildflowers. From the riverbank. His eyes widened when he saw her. "Wow. Danica, you look." "Don't say something you can't take back," she teased, lifting a brow. He laughed, low and warm. "Then I won't take it back. You look beautiful." She shook her head, heat blooming across her cheeks. "Are those for me?" He held out the flowers. "I figured you'd appreciate something real." She swallowed. "I do." When their fingers brushed, her breath caught. Just a touch, but enough to send a soft warmth pulsing through the space between them. "Ready?" he asked. "As I'll ever be," she said, locking her door. "At the cafe by the water." He didn't take her to some flashy restaurant. No linen-covered tables. No overpriced menu. He brought her to a quiet, intimate cafe near the river. Brick walls, soft lights, the scent of rosemary and warm bread drifting through the air. "Fancy places don't impress me much," he said as they walked inside. "You don't strike me as the type who needs to impress anyone," she replied. He held the door for her. "Except you." That made her heartbeat stumble. They sat in a booth by the window, the sun dipping low enough to cast a golden glow across the room. For a moment, neither spoke. Then he broke the silence gently. "Can I ask something personal?" She smirked. "You're getting bold." "Just curious," he said. "What made you start quilting?" Danica brushed her fingers over the wooden table. "It was therapy. After my divorce, I needed something soft to hold. Something that didn't disappoint me." Elias's expression softened. "I'm sorry." She shook her head. "No need. We grew apart." He wanted someone easier to love. Someone less strong. Elias leaned in slightly. "Danica, strength isn't what scares people. It's honesty. And you're honest in a way most folks don't know how to handle." Her lips parted, surprised by how quickly he saw her. "And what about you?" she asked. "What made a billionaire wander into my neighborhood?" He smiled, but there was a tired edge behind it. "I got lost," he said simply. Not just on the street. In life. He exhaled slowly. Every time I gave away money, people clapped. But nobody asked if I was happy. And are you? She asked. He held her gaze. I wasn't. But that morning on your porch, it was the first time I felt grounded in a long time. Her breath hitched. Because you almost fell through my floor? No, he chuckled softly. Because you didn't treat me like a headline. Silence settled between them, warm, full, unhurried. The lovely, flirtatious turn. Over dinner, they traded stories. She teased him for not knowing how to fold fitted sheets. He joked that he'd hire her solely to teach him. She told him she loved sweet tea with too much sugar. He swore he felt his blood pressure rising just hearing it. He leaned in when she laughed. She touched his arm when he made a dry joke. At one point, he brushed a crumb from her lower lip with his thumb before realizing what he'd done. Sorry, he murmured. She didn't pull away. Instead, she whispered, It's all right. Their eyes locked. The air thickened. His hand hovered near her cheek for a second too long. She cleared her throat, her pulse thundering. You flirting with me, Mr. Ward? Only if it's working, he said. She smiled. Unfortunately, it is. The walk back to her house. They walked slow, the night warm, cicadas humming in the trees. At her porch steps, she turned to him. Thank you for tonight. It was gentle. I can be gentle, he said softly. But I can be intentional too. He took her hand, not forcefully, not timidly, just enough for her to feel his sincerity. Danica, I'd like to keep seeing you. She exhaled shakily. That scares me. I know, he murmured. But I'm here. I'm not rushing. His thumb brushed her knuckles. I just want to know you. The vulnerability in his voice made something inside her loosen. Finally, she whispered, Then keep showing up. He lifted her hand and pressed a soft kiss to the back of it. Her breath completely stopped. Good night, Danica. She watched him walk away, clutching the wildflowers to her chest like something precious. Would you have let him kiss your hand, or would that be too much too soon? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. The power flickered once, twice, then the entire house went dark. Talia froze in the hallway, her hand pressed to her chest as thunder cracked over the valley. She hated storms, always had. Something about the sudden loss of light, the shaking windows, the shadows turning unfamiliar. She inhaled quickly, steadying herself. Then she heard footsteps behind her. Hey, it's okay. Damian's voice, low, warm, reassuring, wrapped around her like a blanket. She didn't turn. She didn't want him to see the fear on her face. She was 52, a grown woman who had survived heartbreak, raising kids alone, and rebuilding her life from scratch. She shouldn't be afraid of a little lightning. But she was. And he sensed it. Talia. His voice softened, closer now. She felt his presence before he touched her, his calm breathing, his steady warmth, the way he respected her space but didn't hesitate to protect her. I'm fine, she whispered. But her voice trembled. Lightning flashed. Thunder rolled. She flinched. And that was all it took. Damian gently slid his hand down her arm until his fingers found hers in the dark. Slow, careful, reverent, as if asking for permission without a word. She let him. He stepped in front of her so he could see her face when the next flash of light filled the hallway. Her eyes glimmered, fear, embarrassment, vulnerability. Talia, he murmured, you don't have to pretend with me. Something inside her cracked. Not in a painful way, in the way old walls finally crumble so the light can get in. She exhaled sharply, the truth falling out before she could grab it back. It's been a long time since anyone stood with me through anything. I forgot what it feels like. Another flash of lightning illuminated his expression. Soft concern, a hint of protective instinct, and something deeper that he hadn't said aloud yet. He lifted her hand slowly. "Talia," he whispered, "I want to be the man who stands with you. Through storms. Through shadows. Through everything." Her breath caught. "You don't know me well enough to promise that. Then let me learn you." His voice was velvet, but steady. "Every fear, every dream, every piece of you you're convinced no one else wants, I want them." Her chin trembled. She looked away. "You're younger than me. Wealthier. Your world is huge. Mine is quiet. Small." He cupped her cheek gently. "I'm not looking for a world," he murmured. "I'm looking for a woman. And I think I've already found her." Talia's eyes filled, not with fear this time, but with something she hadn't let herself feel in years. Hope. The storm rumbled overhead. But in that dark hallway, for the first time in a decade, she didn't feel alone. The storm passed, but Damian didn't leave. Not that night. Not the next morning. Talia woke to the soft clinking of dishes downstairs. For a moment she panicked. Her ex used to yell any time she wasn't the first one awake. But then she heard Damian humming. Humming. Deep, smooth, and slightly off-key in a way that made her smile into her pillow. She wrapped her robe tighter and walked into the kitchen, and nearly forgot how to breathe. Damian stood barefoot on her old tile floor, sleeves rolled up, his hair still a little messy from sleep. He was making French toast like he lived there. Like he belonged there. He looked up, saw her, and his smile did something dangerous to her chest. "Good morning, beautiful." Beautiful. She hadn't been called that in years. Not like that, not like someone truly meant it. "You're cooking," she said, trying to sound unimpressed but failing completely. "Trying to impress the woman who let me hide from thunder in her hallway," he teased. She shook her head, flustered. "I didn't let you." He placed a plate in front of her before she could finish. "Sit," he said gently. "Relax. I've got you this morning." Those words. Simple. But they hit the part of her heart that had been carrying everything alone for too long. She sat. He poured her tea the way she liked it. 2 minutes steeped, 1 spoon of honey, a squeeze of lemon. She hadn't told him that. He had paid attention. "Damian, why are you being so kind to me?" She asked it softly. Not suspiciously. Just honestly. He leaned across the table, elbows resting, eyes locked on hers. "Because last night showed me something." She swallowed. "What?" "That you're strong in every way except the ways you've been hurt." Her breath hitched. "And I want to earn the right," he continued, voice deepening, "to be someone you don't have to be strong with all the time." Talia looked away, caught off guard by how exposed she suddenly felt. He reached out, lightly brushing her hand with his fingertips. Barely a touch, but enough to send warmth up her arm. "Talia," he murmured, "I know I'm younger. I know my life looks big from the outside. But I'm a man first. And I see you. Really see you." Her lips parted, just slightly. "And what do you see?" she whispered. He smiled, slow, confident, almost sinful. "A woman who has no idea how stunning she is in the morning light." She laughed, flustered. "Damian." He tilted his head. "Let me say it. Let me mean it. Let me show it." His voice dropped even lower. "You deserve to feel wanted." Her heartbeat stuttered, too many emotions at once. She pushed her hair behind her ear, suddenly shy in a way she hadn't felt since her 20s. "You're very charming," she murmured. He smirked. "I'm very serious." And the way he looked at her, soft, warm, unwavering, made her realize something. She wasn't just letting him into her house. She was letting him into the quiet parts of her heart she had buried years ago. Talia didn't know when the shift happened. All she knew was that Damian had quietly become the calm in her house, and the storm in her chest. But every story with rising heat eventually hits a wall. And their wall arrived that evening. The knock that shattered the air. Talia was setting the table. 2 plates, 2 glasses, while Damian uncorked a bottle of wine he'd brought from his private cellar in Carmel. "Bold, warm, smooth," he said with a grin. "Like you," she teased back. Everything felt easy. Dangerous but easy. Then, bam, bam, bam. A fist pounded on her door hard enough to rattle the frame. Talia froze. Damian's entire body shifted, shoulders straightening, jaw locking, eyes sharpening with protective focus she had never seen in a man before. "Talia!" A voice barked from outside. A voice she hadn't heard in 3 years. Her ex-husband. The man who walked out during one of her darkest seasons, only to suddenly regret it after she rebuilt herself. Damian took one step toward the door. Talia grabbed his arm. Instinct, fear, memories. "No," she whispered. "Please don't." But her ex didn't wait. He shoved the door open. Talia gasped. Damian stepped in front of her so fast she barely saw the movement. "What do you think you're doing in my house?" the man snapped. Damian's voice came out low, calm, terrifyingly steady. "This isn't your house." Her ex scoffed. "And who are you? The boy toy?" Talia flinched. Damian didn't. He took one small step forward, no shouting, no aggression, just absolute, collected authority. "I'm the man who respects her," Damian said. "The man who listens to her." His voice deepened. "And the man who won't let you speak to her like that ever again." Silence. Heavy. Electric. Talia's ex looked at her, furious. "So this is what you're doing now? Dating kids? Acting desperate?" Before Talia could speak, Damian said quietly, "You should leave." Her ex lunged a little, enough to threaten but not touch. That was all Damian needed. He didn't raise a fist. He didn't grab him. He simply stepped closer, lowering his voice to a level that made the room feel smaller. "This woman has survived enough storms," Damian murmured. "You won't be another one." Her ex froze. Something in Damian, his height, his steadiness, his wealth that radiated without him needing to say a word, shifted the balance. Her ex backed up, grumbling, confused, defeated in a way he didn't expect. He slammed the door behind him and left. When the world finally quiets, Talia stood shaking, but not from fear, from relief, from shock, from something opening inside her she had sealed shut long ago. Damian turned to her slowly, almost cautiously. "You okay?" he asked softly. She nodded, then shook her head, then nodded again. "Talia," he murmured, stepping closer. That was all it took. Years of holding herself upright cracked at once. She pressed both hands to his chest and breathed out a voice she barely recognized. "No one has ever stood up for me like that." Damian's eyes softened, but the fire in them didn't fade. "I'll always stand up for you." Her breath trembled. He lifted her chin gently with 2 fingers, not forceful, not assuming, just enough to let her meet his gaze. "You deserve peace," he whispered. "You deserve joy." Then more softly, "You deserve someone who chooses you every single day." Her eyes stung. Too much, too fast. "I'm not used to being protected," she admitted. Damian's thumb brushed a tear at the corner of her eye. Slow, tender. "Then let me be new for you." The air between them tightened. Close. Warm. Charged. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to stop him. She didn't. His forehead pressed gently against hers, just that touch, and Talia's whole world tilted. She wasn't 52 and forgotten. She wasn't abandoned or overlooked. She was a woman being seen. Fully. Deeply. Dangerously. And when she whispered his name, "Damian," he exhaled like he'd been waiting for it since the moment he knocked on her door. If someone stood up for you in a moment you didn't expect, would you let yourself believe it, or run from it? Share your thoughts in the comments. The house was quiet the next morning, but Talia's mind wasn't. Damian had slept on the sofa, insisting she rest. She barely slept at all. Her ex's intrusion. Damian's fierce protectiveness. The almost kiss suspended in the air between them. It all looped in her chest like a heartbeat she couldn't steady. And yet, nothing prepared her for what she was about to learn. The hum that broke the silence. Talia walked into the living room and found Damian staring at his phone, jaw clenched tight. Not angry, hurt. Something deeper. When he sensed her, he hid the screen behind his leg. She saw it. He didn't mean for her to. A headline. Large. Bold. Blinding. Billionaire tech heir Damian Hale missing from his estate for 5 days. Family in turmoil. Talia stopped breathing. He closed his eyes like he'd been caught in a storm he'd hoped to outrun. Damian. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. You didn't tell me you were. He shook his head quickly. I didn't want this to be the first thing you knew about me. Silence swallowed the room. Talia sank slowly onto the arm of a chair, trying to process the truth unraveling in front of her. You're not just wealthy, she finally said. You're Hale wealthy. He rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed, like a boy caught skipping class, not a billionaire whose face made global news. I walked away, he admitted softly. No assistance. No security. No board meetings. No press. His eyes lifted to hers, raw and vulnerable. I walked away from everything because my life stopped feeling like mine. Talia felt something shift inside him, like she had just seen the unguarded center of a man the world thought was bulletproof. And then I met you, he confessed. Her breath stuttered. Damian ran a hand through his hair, pacing once. Talia, the night I knocked on your door? I didn't come to ask for help. I came to disappear. She swallowed hard. And I kept knocking because... He exhaled, a broken laugh escaping. Because your porch light felt like the first safe place I'd seen in months. Her eyes warmed painfully. Damian. He stopped pacing. His voice dropped to a whisper. I didn't expect you. I didn't expect to feel anything. Especially not this. She felt the heat of that word. This. The unspoken desire. The growing attachment. The way he looked at her like she was the first real thing in his life. And now, he continued, gesturing to the phone, my family thinks I'm spiraling. My company's panicking. Reporters are tracking my planes, my bank records, everything. If they find me here, they'll drag you into all of it. His voice trembled, not with fear for himself, but for her. I didn't want to pull you into my mess. Talia stepped closer, heart pounding. Damian, she said softly, you didn't pull me into anything. You just walked into my life. And wrecked the peace you finally built, he countered, guilt flooding his expression. She touched his arm, light, reassuring. You didn't wreck anything. He looked at her, desperate to believe it. Talia. I don't know who I am when I'm not being the man everyone else needs me to be. Her hand slid gently down to his palm. Then maybe, she whispered, you're finally becoming the man you need you to be. Something inside him broke open. Raw emotion flickered in his eyes, relief, longing, a quiet ache. He stepped closer, slowly, like he was asking permission with every inch. Talia. I don't deserve how you've treated me. She shook her head. You deserve someone who sees past your money and your name. I just happened to be the one who answered the door. Their breathing synchronized. Close. Closer. Almost touching. Damian lifted her hand, pressing it against his chest. His heartbeat raced under her palm. This, he whispered, eyes locked on hers. This is the only thing that's felt real in years. Her lips parted. And for the first time since he arrived, she finally understood why he knocked. Not because he was lost. Because he was lonely. Deeply, painfully, quietly lonely. And she had opened her door. Would you trust someone who revealed a truth that big? Or would you step back to protect your heart? Share your thoughts in the comments. The news broke faster than either of them could process. Damian's family had tracked him. Reporters had found his secret visits. Overnight, Talia's quiet neighborhood was swarmed with paparazzi. Helicopters circled. Phones rang endlessly. The privacy she had cherished was gone. She felt her chest tighten, not just for herself, but for him. Damian stood at her kitchen window, staring out at the chaos, jaw tight, fists clenched. "I ruined this," he whispered, voice breaking. "I wanted to disappear. I wanted peace, and now it's gone. All of it." Talia's hands shook as she approached him. "No, Damian, it's not ruined. We can figure this out. Together." He turned, eyes hollow, and shook his head. "You don't understand. My life is complicated. My family, my company, my name. They won't stop. And I've dragged you right into the middle of it. You don't deserve this." Her chest ached. She'd never felt fear like this. Not from him, not from the world. She reached for him, but he pulled back gently, as if afraid that even her touch could be burned by the fire surrounding them. I can't do this to you," he said. His voice cracked. "I should leave before it gets worse." The thought of him walking away, the one man who had made her feel alive again, hit her like a physical blow. Her vision blurred. "Damian, don't leave me. Please." He shook his head, guilt and despair written across every line of his face. "You deserve more than what I can give right now. I can't protect you from this world. I can't protect myself. I thought I could have both. But I can't." The silence that followed was deafening. The room felt hollow, the light dimmer, as if the world itself had paused to mourn with her. Talia pressed her forehead against the kitchen counter, tears rolling down her cheeks. She felt a grief she hadn't known she carried. The grief of love almost won, almost hers, and slipping away before it could bloom. Damian finally moved closer, hesitating only a second before enveloping her in a hug. She could feel his trembling, hear the ragged inhale of a man breaking. Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with profound fear of losing the one person who had become his anchor. "I don't want to lose you," he whispered into her hair. I don't know how to fight all this and be the man you deserve at the same time." Talia lifted her head, her tears wet against his chest, and whispered, "We'll figure it out. Together. We always do." He pulled back, searching her eyes, desperation mingling with love, and for the first time she saw it, the raw vulnerability of a man used to controlling everything, now at the mercy of his own heart. "I don't know if I can," he said, almost to himself. "Yes, you can," she whispered firmly. "You just have to let me in. Not as a distraction, not as a fling, but as me. All of me. And I'll let you be all of you, too. We'll navigate it. Together." He swallowed hard, nodding slowly, as if the words were a lifeline thrown across a stormy sea. The world outside could rage and scream, but in that small kitchen, in that fragile embrace, they found the faintest glimmer of hope, a promise that even the darkest hour could not snuff out what was real between them. When the world seems to pull you apart from someone you love, do you fight for them, or let go to protect them? Share your thoughts in the comments. The morning sunlight streamed through the curtains, but Talia barely noticed it. Her world had been spinning for days, helicopters overhead, reporters at her gate, phone alerts screaming headlines. And yet, all she could think about was Damian. She hadn't heard from him since that darkest night. The silence had been unbearable, heavy with words left unsaid and hearts left exposed. The arrival. A black car rolled up the winding driveway, sleek, confident, familiar. Her heart stopped. Damian stepped out. No press. No entourage. Just him. Slightly rumpled, hair in the sun, eyes bright with determination. "Talia," he called softly as he approached, carrying something large under a cloth. "What is?" He pulled the covering off. A grand piano stood in the middle of her front yard. Polished, gleaming in the sunlight, impossible and breathtaking. "I know you love music," he said, voice low, vulnerable. "And I know these past few days have been overwhelming. I can't erase the chaos, but I can give you something that reminds you life still holds beauty. Something that's ours. Talia blinked. Her mouth went dry. Damian, you didn't have to. I didn't have to. But I couldn't stay away. Not like this. Not from you. The music and the moment. He sat at the piano, fingers trembling over the keys at first, then flowing into a melody that made Talia's chest ache. Each note carried the weight of longing, the relief of connection, and the promise of love she had almost given up on. She stepped closer, drawn by the sound, and the man behind it. Halfway through, he looked up, eyes locking with hers. I've never done this for anyone before, he admitted. Never shown this side. But you make me want to be bold, Talia. You make me want to fight for everything that matters. Talia's throat tightened. She swallowed hard, emotion choking her. Damian, He rose, closing the space between them. His hands cupped her face. Don't say anything yet. Just feel this. And she did. Every heartbeat, every breath, every pulse of hope and fear intertwined. The grand gesture. Then, with a deep breath, he knelt on one knee. Not for a proposal, not yet, but holding out a small, velvet-covered box. I can't promise I can control my family or the chaos outside, but I can promise you this. I will choose you. Every day. In every storm. In every quiet moment. I want to be yours, Talia Holt. Will you let me? Talia's eyes brimmed with tears. The world, the chaos, the fear, the years of heartbreak, fell away. All that remained was him. Yes, she whispered, voice breaking. Yes, Damian. I'll let you. He smiled, relief and joy washing over him like a tidal wave. He rose, pulling her into a tender, fierce embrace. The piano still sang beneath them, but they didn't hear it. They only heard the truth between them, two hearts refusing to let go. For a long, golden moment, they simply held each other, breathing in the reality of their love, explosive, undeniable, and finally, theirs. Would you take a leap of faith for someone who proves they'd fight for you, even in a world that's against you? Share your thoughts in the comments. The days after Damian's grand gesture passed in a blur of whispered plans and private moments. The chaos of the outside world, the press, the paparazzi, the demands, faded whenever they were together. Talia felt alive in a way she hadn't in decades. Every laugh, every touch, every glance reminded her that love wasn't over. Not for her, not at 52. The reunion. It was a warm spring evening. The river shimmered like melted gold as Talia walked along the boardwalk near her home. She wasn't expecting anyone, she just needed a moment to breathe. Then she saw him. Damian, walking toward her, hands tucked in his pockets, eyes scanning until they found hers. That smile, the one that made her heart lurch, spread slowly across his face. Talia, he said softly, almost reverently. Damian, she breathed, unable to stop the smile from forming. Before either could say more, he closed the distance and swept her into his arms. Not just a hug, an embrace so full, so encompassing, that it felt like he was making up for every lonely day he'd spent apart from her. She pressed her face into his chest, hearing his heartbeat, a steady, grounding rhythm that whispered, "You're home, you're safe, you're loved." The words that hit the heart. Pulling back just enough to look into her eyes, Damian brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. I don't care what the world says, Talia. I don't care about the chaos outside this moment. I care about you. Only you. And I want the rest of my life to prove that. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't think I'd ever feel this way again, she admitted. I didn't think anyone would see me, the real me, and stay. He cupped her face in his hands. You're everything I've been looking for. Strong, beautiful, fierce, compassionate, and entirely, undeniably you. I promise, I'll never let go. She laughed softly through the tears. I've waited a long time to hear someone say that to me. Then don't wait anymore, he whispered, pressing his lips gently to hers. The kiss was tender, patient, and filled with the weight of every emotion they'd held back. The fear, the longing, the hope, and the undeniable spark between them. The moment of full trust. They pulled back slightly, foreheads resting together, breathing the same air, sharing the same heartbeat. "You know," Talia murmured, "I thought love was over for me." Damian smiled, eyes glistening. "It's not over. Not ever. And it's only just beginning." Her hand slid into his, fingers intertwining, holding on like never before. Every tension, every shadow of doubt dissolved in the warmth of his grip. He leaned closer again. "Talia Holt, will you let me love you, fully, without holding back, for the rest of our lives?" Talia's lips trembled. Her chest swelled. She'd waited for this moment. Not just the words, but the sincerity, the devotion, the pure, unyielding love he offered. "Yes," she whispered, voice breaking with joy. "Yes, Damian. I'll let you. All of you. All of this." He lifted her into a spinning embrace, laughing softly as she clung to him. They were a storm of laughter and tears, of sighs and whispered promises. The world around them disappeared, just two souls, perfectly aligned, finally finding each other. Have you ever felt a love so deep it makes you believe in second chances? Share your story in the comments. Let's celebrate love that finds us when we least expect it. The setting. Candles lined the winding path to the terrace. Soft white drapery fluttered in the evening breeze. The river shimmered like liquid gold beneath the bridge, reflecting the warm glow of lanterns. Talia stepped onto the terrace, heart racing. She wore a simple, elegant dress, lavender silk that caught the light, and her hair fell in gentle waves over her shoulders. Damian waited at the center, dressed in a tailored navy suit, the picture of calm and confidence, yet his eyes betrayed a storm of emotion. The world outside, helicopters, headlines, chaos, had vanished. It was just the two of them. The proposal. Damian approached her slowly, stopping just a few feet away. He took both her hands in his, thumbs brushing her knuckles. "Talia," he began, voice low and steady, "these past weeks have shown me more than I ever thought possible. You've taught me what it feels like to be home. You've shown me courage, laughter, and love that I didn't think I deserved. And now I want to spend every day showing you how much you mean to me." Her eyes glistened with tears. He bent to one knee, producing a small velvet box that seemed impossibly heavy with hope and devotion. He opened it to reveal a stunning ring, simple yet radiant, a symbol of every promise he intended to keep. "Talia Holt," he said, voice breaking slightly with emotion, "will you marry me? Will you let me love you for the rest of our lives, through every storm and every sunrise?" Tears streamed down her cheeks. She could barely speak, her heart pounding with joy, disbelief, and love. "Yes," she whispered, barely audible but resolute. "Yes, Damian. 1,000 times yes." He smiled through tears, rising to pull her into a fierce, tender embrace. Their lips met in a kiss full of every emotion, relief, passion, tenderness, and a deep, unshakable love that had survived everything life had thrown at them. The epilogue. Weeks later, they exchanged vows in an intimate ceremony by the river. Family and close friends gathered, but the world still felt far away. Talia looked radiant, holding Damian's hands, listening as he spoke the words she had dreamed of hearing. "I promise to choose you every single day," he said. "To protect you, honor you, and love you without reservation." "And I promise to stand beside you," Talia replied, "through every challenge, every joy, every ordinary and extraordinary moment." They sealed their vows with a kiss that made everyone around them catch their breath. As the sun dipped behind the horizon, Damian whispered into her hair, "We've fought for this, Talia. And now, we have forever." She smiled, tears sparkling in her eyes. Forever starts tonight. The world around them was quiet, perfect, and full of love, the kind of love that proves it's never too late to find your heart again. Have you ever believed love had passed you by, only to find it again when you least expected it? Share your thoughts in the comments and celebrate love's second chances.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, You will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.